EU is about to announce fairly dramatic changes to the protocol, dealing with various checks, for example, trying to reduce dramatically the number of checks from goods going from Great Britain to Northern Ireland. The EU is essentially going to change its rules and allow for a sort of a bespoke situation for the North. So, for example, a lot of people have been covering this story, who know this story, know that there was quite an outcry from unionists and others in Northern Ireland that they couldn't get access to British chilled meats, in particular sausages, going from Great Britain to Northern Ireland. They felt this was a big problem for them. So the EU is going to change its rules and allow for a provision for so-called national identity products, which means that chilled meats, which normally wouldn't be allowed from a third country into the single market, will be allowed because of identity purposes. So they're changing the rules for Northern Ireland. There's essentially a recognition that this is obviously more than trade, this situation, that it's created, obviously, as we know, quite a lot of rancour in the North over the past 10 months since the protocol has been implemented. And so they're trying to deal with all of the issues that unionists have been saying is a problem for them. And they hope that this will finally put the issue of the protocol to bed.
Shona, you mentioned the rancour there in the North. Are any of these proposals or suggestions likely to soothe the concerns of the unionists?
Well, on the face of it, they should, because they're dealing with all of those issues, like getting access to products from Great Britain to Northern Ireland, including things like generic medicines from the NHS. So the EU is willing to deal with all of those issues and dramatically reduce the number of checks on the border. Obviously, there will have to be some checks, but certainly not as much. But the other issue is, Tokes, as we know, is that, as you mentioned there, Boris Johnson, David Frost, they want to do away with the protocol altogether. So you could see that they will maybe bank these concessions and then still continue for calls to end the protocol. That's a real concern for the Commission and for Member States as well. So we don't know. But what one thing is, I think we should point out, is that, as we heard from Maros Sefcovic, who's the EU's Brexit negotiator, he said he's been in touch with David Frost and his team quite frequently over the past few months. So as sources had said to me today, that any of these proposals, they won't be news to the British side. So essentially, they've all been cooperating on these proposals together. So it would be a bit of a shock if David Frost and others were to reject them out of hand.